No, I'm going. I'm done, Danny. But Danny, let's do it another day. But I'm going to bed. Besides, Danny, that was the world's longest question. Honey, can you hit the room service button?
Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 25, year one. Today's we're going to talk about my trip to Florida with yours truly, the great one, Phil Hellmuth, who is also going to be our special interview today. We're also going to go over phone calls. We're going to give you our pick of the week. And we're going to talk about what's been going on with me this week. This week on the Mouthpiece. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, everyone. Episode 25, year one. All right. So, I'm heading out to Florida for spend the weekend with the boys. We're going out on a yacht on Saturday, I guess. Phil dropped about 17 billionaire names, so I lost track of them. I don't really pay attention to that. That's Phil's his little thing. But we're going to Florida. I think I talked about it last week. We're doing play poker with the Brat 2200 on Saturday. The big charity tournament where they get about 500 people. It's like a $500 buy-in. That's going to be on Sunday. We're playing a $50K buy-in where $5,000 to lock up a seat on Friday night, in which Phil's taking half of me, and since I don't have that much money, he's paying the whole $5,000 for charity too, because he could use the write-offs since he's a gabazillionaire and I'm a gabrokenaire. So that's a good one, gabrokenaire. I like that one. And so yeah, we'll let him pay the $5,000 so he could write it off anyways. And he likes to make sure the government gets all their money. I like to make sure the government gets the least amount of money possible. So no, this is how I really know I've changed, because I went out last night. They're playing 2-400, and I showed up. It was four-handed, and I sat down, and I get stacked in PLO in about the third hand, in which I got it in. I haven't ran this hand yet because I don't do sims. But I still win at poker. I don't do 10,000 sims. Poor me. But I presume I'm about 60% in this hand. I might even be more. But guy raised under the gun. I repotted with king, and ace 4 of hearts on the button. And he called. It's a 4,000 cap. And the flop came Jack 8-4 with Jack 8 of hearts, and he pots it, and then we go all in, and his hand is Jack 8, 10-10. And so I win with a 4, a king, a running pair, or a heart, so or an ace. So that gives me, let's see, I have 2 4s, 2 kings, 3 aces, and 9 hearts. What does that all come to? I think I counted 17 last night. Maybe it's only 16. Anyways, reran it twice. Comes 3 of hearts on the turn and a jack on the river on the first one. And then on the second one, it went brick, and I got scooped. I was down 4,000. I won about 3-4 pots in a row, including stealing a really nice one off Alan Richardson. That was beautiful. And then I was like 400 winner, and I said, this game is an absolute horror show. It's a terrible game. Alan had already left. It was me, Jen Harmon, Eric Sangstrom, and some guy named Taylor. And so I said, let me go see what's going on in the private game at the Aria. So I called, and there was a seat open. I said, don't tell anybody who is calling, just see if there's a seat open. And they walked in, they said there's a seat open, but it's a reserved private game. And I just knew that they'd let me in because the guy who runs the game, I let him on our game about a month ago, and he told me that. So I went over there. They're actually playing 5-handed, or was it 4-handed? They're playing 4-handed, and they're playing 400, 800. But right when I got there, they lowered it to 300, 600. Now, I don't know if they lowered it because they wanted me to get in the game, and they knew I didn't want to play 800, but because they want to keep the game together. So I think more they said him and Ellie just wanted to play 3-6. So I'm kind of staking out the game, and I asked Hanks, who runs the game, I go, I want to get in, but I don't want to get stuck 20,000 in 10 minutes. How long you guys think you'll play? He's like, 45 minutes, an hour. This game's not going much longer. I said, okay. And he's always honest with me. So now, Guy Taylor, who I was playing a 2-400 game with, he walked in and sat down, put chips on the table. So now I decide I'm going to take a round of blinds. And then Ellie gets up and he quits right on his blind. And I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe this game's probably going to break. And so then I quit. I played one round and quit. I sat out, started talking to Jared Blesnick a little bit. We were talking about the Postal situation. It was kind of funny. He's like, Mike, I loved your interview. He goes, these people just don't get it. So we talked about that, and I started thinking, should I play? Shouldn't I play? Should I play? Shouldn't I play? So I was like, and then Jared says, man, there's great 25 PLO, and Jamie Gold's like putting 10,000 in every hand with nothing. And I'm like, okay. He goes, you can take my seat. So I go over there. And this is something I never would do in my old age. I mean, I'm never leaving going to not play 3-600 mix to go play quarter PLO. It's just something I would never do. Now, granted, the game could play big if you're buying in deep. But, other than that, it's really not going to play that big. I mean, the game was playing big, but I didn't buy in deep, so it didn't matter. Excuse me. And so I left. My gut told me go play the quarter. I tried to bluff a pot. I never bluff. Everybody at the table thought I had it, except for the guy I was up against who called me. I said, you got it. So I lost like 2,000 in the hand extra. I was down like 4,000. I got winners, and then I end up losing 800 in this game, which is nothing. So I broke about even for the night. It was fun though. I put in my 6 hours, 7 hours. It's something I've been really trying to hold myself to because all my mistakes have happened when I play long sessions. And so like I said, the old Mike just always played the biggest game in the room, and never I just don't do what I did last night. And this is something I've been really working on. And I even talked to Alex Epstein, who's in the game, and we were talking a little bit about how he crushed the game during the World Series this summer, and then he went and took a shot in this big home game, and he got crushed. And he's 28. I said, I asked him how many times he gone broke. He said 4 times. I go, well, I got broke 9, and I tried to give him some good advice, which is, no matter how good you play, you got to have money management. You got to be able to take a loss, and that's used to be my problem, and it's something I'm worked hard on. It's not. I'm just a believer. When it's not your day, it's not your day, and you just try not to lose more, and you can win in one day. And if you do that, person with money management's always going to have an edge over the person who plays better and doesn't have money management. Okay, so that's what's gone on with me this week. It's time for our pick of the week, which is brought to you by MyBookie. Visit mybookie.ag, promo code Mouthpiece. You get a 200% deposit bonus up to $1,000. You could play casino games. You could play sports, live betting. They got everything for all you DJs out there. Check it out, mybookie.ag, 200% deposit bonus. So my pick of the week is, and this one, as you know now, we are now 3-6 through 9 weeks of the season. That's not good. We started off 1-0, then we were 1-3, then we were 3-3, and now we are officially 3-6. But last week I let something slip over me, and I knew that New England had played a bad schedule. And my mind has been all year long that Baltimore's not that good. Baltimore's not that good. And I'm still convinced Baltimore's not that good. But, it was the first real good team the Patriots played, and they weren't ready. But this week, I'm sure of this, okay? This week, we're 3-6 on the year. Only one time, though, have I said, I guarantee you, this will win. And that was week 1 when we won. This is the second time I'm going to guarantee it. I love, and I mean love, and I will not be betting because I do not bet, okay? I broke out. I did one bet. I bet Game 7 of the World Series because they were giving me plus 135, which Scherzer I couldn't resist. And that was it. That was the only bet I've made in 3 years. But, and I won't be betting this week at all either. But for all you guys out there, I really, really am confident in this pick. And that is, I know you guys are going to laugh. Everyone out there is just going to say, Mike's a fucking idiot. The Cincinnati Bengals. That's right. The Cincinnati Bengals coming off of a bye, changing quarterbacks, getting A.J. Green back against the Baltimore Ravens, coming off their best regular season win in maybe franchise history. And I'm sure maybe they've had other big ones, but this one was so huge. They were pumped up for the game. They played lights out. This is the ultimate betting spot. I mean, back in the days, we used to talk about if I only bet certain situations, I would crush sports. I really believe this is a situation. You got Baltimore coming off of this unbelievable win over the Patriots and now are laying 10 points to a division team who is really desperate for a win, okay? And Baltimore has Houston on deck. Why is that important? Because Houston, Watson and Lamar Jackson played the highest yardage, one of the highest yardage games in college football history 3 years ago, where they each threw for or had over 1,000 yards of offense each team in one of the college classic games. So Lamar Jackson, I know, will be thinking about that game on deck, and Baltimore is going to be full of themselves beating New England, and I don't know how they get up for this game. Now, with that said, I don't think Baltimore is that good, and I really think Cincinnati is going to win outright. But of course, we are getting 10 points, so it might be worth a small bet them winning outright. I know that sounds crazy for a team that's 0-7, or 0-8, whatever they are. I think it's 0-8 they are. But this is the ideal spot. Getting double-digit points in the NFL, home dog, division rival, a team coming off an emotional win and has a very big game on deck. I am guaranteeing Cincinnati plus 10 gets the money. You heard it from me. If they don't cover this spread this week, you guys can all call into the show next week and call me every name under the sun. But don't bet all your money on it. Make a small bet if you're going to bet. Go to mybookie.ag and promo code Mouthpiece. And if you're going to bet. But I'm not going to bet, but I really like this. So pick of the week, Cincinnati, probably my best pick of the year. I am really sold on this. I've watched football long enough to know that the team that beats the best team in the league one week and then plays the worst team in the week the next week goes in and loses. I've seen it happen a million times, and it's just one of those spots that you're giving me 10 points. I might be wrong. I really might be wrong. But and if I am wrong, I won't be betting. So if I am wrong, I ain't going to lose anything. But If I am wrong, that it only is going to mean that Baltimore is a lot better than I think they are, and they are a Super Bowl caliber team, and I don't believe they are. So we'll see what happens. Coming up next, we got the great one, Phil Hellmuth, on the line, and he is going to join us for the rest of the show. So this is going to be a treat. We're going to talk a little bit about his, we're going to talk about what Phil talks about himself. And so let's see what my man Phil has to say.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matusow on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live. Now it's time for our favorite part of the show, the phone call segments. Today's special guest, I got Phil Hellmuth on the line. We're going to hear what our fans have to say today. So let's light up the lines.
Hey, Mike, I had a question about Big Blind Ante format tournament. I was just in day 2 of a World Series circuit event, and blinds were 20-40 with a 40K Big Blind Ante, and I had a 100K under the gun. I'd been card dead and looked down at 3-6 suited and ended up folding it, but looking back, I think that's the wrong move, having to put in the dead big blind on the next hand. If you can give me any feedback on that, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
I think he's supposed to move in with it. What's your opinion?
Yeah, he has to move in. I did the same thing. I moved in with 3-5 offsuit in the exact same position. Six-handed at a World Series of Poker final table, Mike, the 5K.
Yeah, I remember.
Turbo. And, of course, I made a straight, came 10-4. Yeah, sure. You laugh now.
Oh, this is the one you lost. Never mind. You won the first 3.
Yeah, I was against ace-10, and it came 10-4 deuce. It turned an ace, and I was feeling so lucky. I wasn't going to have that many chips, but, I mean, I've come back lots of times and won from there. And then,
sure.
And then the guy said, it was Tony Dunst.
Yeah.
And he's like, probably. He said, don't worry, an ace is probably coming on the river. Bam, an ace. So the free 5 wasn't supposed to win. But the point is that, you have to move in there, and that's how the big blind has changed. The big blind ante has changed. Now, we all love it. All the pros love it. We're all almost unanimous that we love it.
Yep.
And the reason why is because it's just such a hassle to have to ante every hand.
Right.
And it makes you get more hands in, and it's cleaner, but it also causes, some weird situations.
And there's a lot of spots where you count your chips, like if I don't move in here, what can I get through the blinds? How much will I have? And if you get through those blinds and you get those extra 8 free hands, I mean, a lot of people I've seen move in, let's just say he had 100 where I think it's an auto move in, where 200, it's a fold, but so many of the math kids are moving in with 200. And I don't think it's right, but that's my opinion. I'd rather get through the blinds and have 8 free hands at that 100, So
it's close because I think when you move in for 200 under the gun, there's sometimes where nobody has a hand they can call you with.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it depends what your feel is. We talked about that. So, all right. So that's we both agree on moving in would have been the right move, and he made a mistake. All right. Let's see what else we have to hear from our fans out there.
Yo, Mikey, what's up? It's Frank from Georgia again. I had a couple questions to ask you that were poker related about basically balance and your pre-flop range, and how basically like playing with lower level people and softer, 1, 3, 2, 5 games that I usually play. It's hard to stay balanced because people don't really have a sense of what balance actually is, but also you don't want to be polarized. And I noticed that time Phil paid you $1,000 to go to that tournament, and you end up winning it. And like, what type of strategy did you really employ and just like playing small ball poker. I'm assuming like what the blind structures levels were like. Thanks.
So I'm gonna give my opinion, and then Phil could give his. I think that when you're playing $1 and $3 cash game, you shouldn't really worry about balancing. These people play every hand; they don't fold. I just think playing tight is the way to go. That's my opinion. What's your opinion, Phil?
Well, it's very interesting because when I'm playing in a 1-3 game and I have 1,000 in front of me, I have like 300 big blinds. So I'm actually playing more hands.
Okay.
So when I play 1-3, I'm actually playing a lot of hands. I might even straddle because I'm trying to get other people, to play. When I'm straddling, I'm trying to encourage people to gamble. And then, so for me, I might call 15 with 6-7 suited,
right,
and or 7-8 suited. I'm going to play a lot of hands like that. I'm going to play all the pairs,
right,
and I'm going to try to get in 15 with 6-7 suited, and then when it comes 4-5 jack, I'm going to try to be able to call 50, and I want to hit that 8 or 3, and then I want to get the other 900 in.
Sure.
And so that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And against weak players, sometimes they lose way too much in that spot where they have ace jack, where it does come an 8. And I can win another 500 in that spot and so, but interestingly, when I'm playing 100, 200, and someone makes it, 3,000 to go, and I have 6-7 suited, and I have 30,000 in front of me, I just fold it every time.
Right.
So it's interesting. I play a tighter. The higher I play, it seems like the tighter I play sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think the balancing of the ranges and all that, I call it GTO lingo and all that shit, is important when you're up against great players, where if you're just playing super tight, they're never going to give you action. Hold on.
There's no great players that play 1-3 all the time, Mike.
Yeah, of course. And so
there's no great players, and there's no really, really good players. So,
right.
If they're good, they've moved up to 5-10 or 10-20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just don't see, unless it's, a region-specific thing where a great player happens to want to stay close to home and he's playing 1-3.
Yeah.
So you don't see a lot of great players playing
unless you're Mike Postel on the stream. Unless you're Mike Postel on the stream. That's a joke, by the way.
There's so many weak players. I'm just trying to get lucky, but then I also don't want to put $100 in with 7-8 suited because you only have 900 behind, and it's harder to.
All I know is me and you played 5-5 meetup game, and me and you were playing great. And between I think you won 800. I lost like 1,100. No, I broke it dead even. That's right. I fucking can't do, and what's his name lost 35,000.
Well, they lost like 29,000 between them, and the reason why is because Cantu was after Randall, and Randall was after Cantu. So they were playing 5-5, but they were making it 25, or they just went crazy. So they lost a lot of money at the Bicycle Casino at our meet and greet for the customers.
Yeah, it was good. It's good. They'll be paying both. They'll be paying you double, and me probably what they paid you last year. We had 13 games going for them. All right, let's see what up. We got one more phone call. Let's see what they have to say.
Hey, Mike, Joe in Ohio. So a question pertaining to online poker. Whenever it comes up in a future podcast, I guess I'm curious. There's a lot of sites that operate within the U.S. that aren't necessarily based here. There's obviously a certain risk that goes along with that from a cashing out perspective, and legislation seems to be very slow moving state to state to get additional sites compliant. So I guess my question is, where do you see the state of online poker? Is this something that is just so slow rolled that it's going to die, or is this something that is just going to take a great amount of time across the U.S. to implement? I think the longer it takes, it seems like more and more people become disinterested There was that moneymaker height and high stakes poker when, a lot of guys tuned in to see you and Hellmuth and Negreanu and Dolly and others, on TV frequently. And, there's that big boom, and now it seems like you struggle to really find anything television-wise or broadcast-wise keeping the game of interest. So outside of maybe the WSOP events. So just curious as to what your thoughts were as far as, if there's a resurgence coming in the online poker world, or if you think that ship potentially has sailed. Appreciate the time, and hopefully we'll get to discuss this in greater detail. Thanks.
Okay. Well, my opinion of this, and Phil knows more than I do, is I think within 2 years it's coming. It's coming, and it's coming quick, because sports betting has been legalized, and that was the whole thing about when they got rid of online poker, was the Unlawful Internet Gaming Act, because of sports betting. And now that it's been legalized, I think online poker is real close. You know more about the subject, Phil. What is your answer to that?
Well, it's interesting, because even some of the we all thought it was going to be legalized in 11 and then 12 and then 13. And it's just been so slow. It's been frustrating. And we had a president, Obama, who's a poker player, played a lot of poker when he was a legislator. We know this. So kind of frustrating that he never could turn his attention towards this for us. Yeah. But I think that, and Donald Trump owns casinos. Right. So,
yeah,
it's been
Trump
frustrating.
Wants online poker. Trump wants gambling online internet. But the thing is the biggest Republican donor, the guy who owns the Sands, what's his name? Adelson, is he donates like $50, $100 million a year to the Republic, whatever the most you could do, and he's against it. But he's very sick right now, and God forbid, I don't wish death or anything on anybody, no matter even my worst enemy. But if God forbid something happens to him, I think, and Trump gets reelected, online poker will be like that, like right away. And I also believe that if Andrew Yang on the Democrat side had put into his platform that he wants to legalize online poker. I wonder if that had anything to do with Daniel making a pretty hefty donation to his campaign. You heard about that, right?
Yeah, I've heard about this, and I am excited, because it's good. It's good that poker gets a bit of a spotlight.
Right.
So I think you're right, Mike. I think once it's going to be very hard for people to say no to online poker when you're going to legalize sports betting.
Right,
so
of course.
I think it is going to inevitably follow with that. Mm-hmm. And I know that Party Poker USA is ramping it up. They have Party Poker is now in Nevada.
Right. It is.
In New Jersey.
When did it come to Nevada?
Yeah, they just got the green light.
Oh, awesome to hear, man. That's awesome. So, because WSOP.com's the software is just so bad, but I heard it's picked up a lot too. I'm not, I'm not a big online person, because it's just bad for me. I'm a people person. I start playing online, I never quit. I take beats I never would take. I've been cheated out of money. Me and online, the one thing, it's kind of like me in sports betting and me in money management. Online poker is not my thing.
Mike, online poker is not your thing, and here's the problem. You just don't have, you're just starting to get the control to be able to manage yourself in the real world.
Right.
And for you, playing online poker is like being like you're at a kid at a candy store. You just play and play and play and play. And when you first walk into the candy store, you are very selective with the candies you choose, and you get all the good candies and the healthy candies. And then the problem is that you stay there for 4 or 5 hours, and all of a sudden your stomach hurts, and you're like, one more. And, and so.
No, you're right. It's a good analogy. It's a pretty funny analogy.
You are actually a great online poker player, but you just can't.
I can't quit.
One thing about Ivy.
Yeah.
Ivy did it. Ivy did is I saw him night after night. He would sit down at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. at night. And every night he would leave at exactly 2 a.m.
Well, no,
night after night.
He would risk $20,000 sometime in a 2,400 PLO. Sometimes he would go 40, but very seldom 20. And then he would either win 200 or lose 20. But when he starts winning, they just kept rebuying. And that's what Ivy was a great money manager. He never would go off online, and then I'll never forget. But he would always win. He was win. And we were stuck doing a commercial for Phil Tilt, and we were supposed to be there. We got there at 11 a.m. And we said we didn't want to wait around all day. Make sure the shoot's going to happen within an hour. And you know how shoots end up. We end up there 8 hours.
Yeah.
We end up talking in the whatever we were in, and then. He's like, oh, I just busted my account. You got money online? I go, yeah, I got 40 online. He goes, let me into this 2-400 game. And fucking Ivy blew my 40,000 in like 3 minutes. And I'm like, this motherfucker never loses him. Let him come on my line. He busts my fucking account. So, but that was one of the fun days. Me and Ivy had a good time that day. But it's good to see. It's good to see Ivy. It was great to see you and Ivy were both head up for a bracelet at the WSOP Europe. And in the old days, you guys didn't get seconds, man. I'm like, how could they both get? Ivy, I don't think ever has a second. That might be his first second, right? I mean, he always won. He doesn't have many seconds.
He does not have a lot of seconds.
No, you and Daniel.
It was nice to.
You and Daniel got that category. So, I think TV poker is going to come back in a big way once the online is when it's established. And listen, I had a long talk with Daniel, and I said, how could you leave Poker Stars? And he says, and they pay him pretty good. We're paying him pretty good. And he's like, Mike, 12 years, married now, I want to start a family. And he goes, plus online poker is real close in the United States, and we're going to have the pick of the litter. And so, that's it feels good to be winning again, and hopefully I'll be with Phil and Daniel with the pick of the litter. That would be nice again to start getting a little income, working hard for an online site. Now, even though online poker's bad for me, if I get paid to play, then I'll be playing. I won't be playing big. Well, fuck. I probably won't be able to stop myself. I'm a sick fuck.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Who are you kidding?
Shut up, honey.
The Mouthpiece.
Okay, everybody. So we've got ourselves our first sponsor on this show. Their name is MyBookie, and they're a very reputable company. They have blackjack, craps, roulette. They have all kinds of other casino games, as well as tons of sports betting for all you degenerates out there. So do me a favor. You're listening to the show. Go visit mybookie.ag. Put in the promo code Mouthpiece. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code Mouthpiece. And you get up to a 200% bonus up to $1,000. So you spin, you win, get paid only at MyBookie. Up to $1,000 bonus. That's MyBookie. Enter promo code Mouthpiece. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. And I appreciate them supporting the show. Okay, everyone. It's Mr. Phil Hellmuth. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, Phil. How's it going?
Life is good, Mikey. I'm down here in Boca Raton, Florida, and you're going to be down here staying at the same hotel as me tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to it, man. My sleep schedule is completely fucked, so I stayed up all day, and then I'm on my way to see you, man. We're going to have some fun.
You're going to have to get some rest. I know you land at 5:30, and then we're going to be going to the Chop Lobster House for this dinner. They have A5 Kobe, Mikey. They have now I can't believe it, but the Florida crab claws, what do they call them? They're in season right now. And then also this place has live Maine lobsters up to 5 pounds. So you and I we're going to have a nice meal tomorrow with some of the guys.
Wait, I got
over to the Isle Casino Pompano.
I got some good news for you, buddy. So, I saw you said the A5 Kobe 34 an ounce. Well, I won $400 yesterday. That means I'm buying you. You have 3 ounces of Kobe coming your way. Whee!
Sweet, Mike, sweet. It's unbelievable. I don't think people know how much money. You see, I think what happened to you, Mike, is you had all of these backers. You made them all this money, and they all decided to back somebody else, and then they lost all their money.
I don't know, but
sense.
I've had one losing day because I didn't give you a piece. I said, "Fuck it, even if I'm playing 81-60, I'm gonna give them 10% because I think we've won about 21 sessions in a row. Knock on wood.
You've made me a lot of money, Mikey. You've made me a lot of money.
I'm gonna make you another 100,000 this weekend. I'm gonna make you another 100,000.
You keep winning me money, and so I don't understand how these other guys could back you. You win them all this money, and then they stop. But let's not get into that.
No, that's negativity.
Point is,
that's all in the past.
People don't know how good you are. They don't know how good you are in cash games at poker.
They don't know how good I am in anything.
Weird to me.
They think I'm a tight knit, and I just rob them. I shouldn't say this. I don't rob them. In certain games, like in 08 and Limit Hold'em. I'm just like. They think I'm so nitty. I'm raising like so many hands because they're all afraid to play Limit Hold'em, and they're all afraid of being Omaha 8. And I'm not like going crazy, but I'm getting a little out of line, and they don't even know it. It's fun.
Yeah. You're able to use your image. You have a tight image.
Yeah. You know? So here's one from yesterday. Wait.
Before you go there, Mike, let's talk about the World Series of Poker Europe.
Yeah, let's get to it, man. Let's do it. So tell me, how was it out there? I've heard people forget. Like you could tell me how you ended. Hold on, let me turn this phone off. You could tell me how you ended up and how I've heard like different opinions of the venue. I've heard it's a nice venue, but there's absolutely in the middle of nowhere, nothing to do. But a lot of people like it there, and so many people said it was awful and they hated it there. Like Ellie went out there and he was there for like 2 days. He said he had to leave. He couldn't take it. So
Ellie left. That's interesting. Well, let me just tell you, there's this guy named Phil Ivey, and there's this other guy named Phil Hellmuth, and Phil and I had a long talk about how much we loved it at the King's Casino, about how much we loved it. And you have to understand, yes, all right, and we can't go to any nightclubs. Fine, whatever. I mean, if you want to have a few drinks, they have a bar there, and a really nice bar. And but for me and Ivy, I guess we're treated really well too. But I mean, I think we like it. I mean, you're out. Yes, you are out there in the middle of nowhere, but it's nice. This year. 2 years ago, they didn't have the stakes I like. This year, they did. And so, you have your own dining room. There's a dining room. And so we go into the dining room. And I think, and if you want, you can order in your room. They'll take care of the Americans.
Is the dining room but is the dining room like Paris used to be, where we all went and ate at a certain time and then we all went and played poker afterwards? Is it like that, or is it just
no? It's better. It's better, and here's why it's better. They have a buffet 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, a buffet. So they make all these 8 different kinds of pizza. So you go back there, you can have pizza. They have salads. They have vegetarian food. They have, and then if you go, so you can go there for quick fill-ups. They have 6, 7 different kinds of desserts, all this fresh fruit, all these fresh veggies. So it's a huge buffet, and there's a bunch of seating, and so that's 24/7. So if you're in you have a 15-minute tournament break, I zip over there, grab a couple slices of pizza. Now, but if you have more time, and for me, I was deep in everything, so I was tired all the time. But when I'd get up in the morning, if I wasn't on a day 2, I'd go straight to the dining room where they'd make anything I wanted, really. And so, I'd have them make, they were making me, my favorite thing is I'd have them make spaghetti with a bunch of veggies and some chicken.
Cool.
And my second favorite thing, they had ribeye steaks, Mike, but it was good ribeye. In Europe, usually they don't have the steaks of the high quality. They had good ribeye steaks.
Yeah. Well, and it is weird. Like Europe, the steaks aren't that good, but yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah.
But Ivy and I agreed. We both really liked it there a lot. And then Daniel came around. He didn't like it for a minute because it's a no-smoking casino, and he was on the VIP floor. Mm-hmm. And some of the VIPs
smoke.
I don't want to say where they're from or anything, or
Whatever.
I don't want to sell anybody out, but they were smoking, and so Daniel got a little too much smoke. But then after they moved floors, then he's like, "Oh, I really like it here." So, I can speak for Ivy and I that I loved it, and I believe Daniel ended up loving it too. So,
well, yeah, he loved it. He won Player of the Year.
Well, yeah, I mean that's nice for him. And so, Mike, then we entered. So let's go on. I play the 8-game mix,
right.
And for the first time in a long time, I showed up kind of on time for a tournament.
Yes,
because I could see that the structure was set up that if you won a bunch of pots early, it could carry you for a while.
Right.
So, not these tournaments where you win 8 pots in a row and it doesn't add up to anything.
You're right.
Which I know you don't like. So the structure was good. So I got a hold of some chips, and I went on to finish third. Now, when we got down to heads up, we got down to 3-handed. The guy who was in third place had 1 bet. And I could have outlasted and moved up to second. The difference was 30,000 euros to 45,000 euros. Mm-hmm. But I was playing to win. It's a chance for a bracelet. So I'm sitting on 600,000. The chip leader has about 3 million, and this guy's 150,000. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, he outlasted me. They only played 1 after I was out. And so, my 8 game, I was feeling really good about it. And I got to tell you something, Mike. I got to thank you.
Yeah.
Because you have been teaching me Omaha 8 or better, and people don't know this, for 7 years. Yeah. And I've been asking you questions. I've been getting better and better and better.
Of all the games.
Super comfortable in that game.
Yeah.
You and I have been talking about stud 8 or better.
Yeah.
And I don't always use your opinions there, but generally I do, and, you taught me some stuff about stud 8 or better, and then Cantu and I ran some stuff about the value of the deuce 4 king of diamonds, where you start with 3 diamonds and 2 lows. Well, that hand is a very, very low probability of winning.
Of course.
And that's one thing I learned. So we worked really hard I worked really hard at all these mixed games, and I've been playing professionally high-stakes mixed games since the late 80s.
Right.
And so then the 25K mix comes, and this one I'm risking my own money, 25,000 euros. Well, I bust out.
Well, and you don't.
And then I realized.
Explain to everybody that you don't. That even though you have plenty of money to play your own, you like to usually put up half because it's what you do.
What I'll do is this: I'll raise 600. This is what I did last time. I raised $600,000 to play in a $300,000 buy-in tournament, $100K in some others.
Right.
And so I raised $600K. I got a 10% free roll. I put 60 up myself, so I had another 10%, and then I played for 20. So I used some of that money over there. I used the rest of the money. I've made my friends a lot of money. This fund I lost, but anyway. But
explain to the
not many events,
Explain to the viewer, the people listening out there, why you do that. And I agree with you. And even when I had millions, somebody always was staking me in tournaments, or I only put up half. Explain to everybody why. People say, why Phil Hellmuth is so good. Why doesn't he put his own money up and everything? And you've told me, and you could tell them if you'd like, and I agree with you. Explain to them why you do that.
Well, Mike, I've been very lucky financially, very lucky financially, and I have everything I want.
Right.
And, I have an amazing house. My house might be worth $10 million now. It's crazy. And I have, and we don't owe anything on that house. And so we have money. But as an old school professional poker player, at age 21, 22, 23, 24, I learned the hard way.
Right.
That the one thing you don't want in life is to have to worry about paying your bills.
Correct.
And so the first time I got staked was 1998 by Ted Forrest. Yep. And I had $1 million. I figured I was worth exactly $1 million. And I said, all right, I'm not going to take any more chances. I'm not going to borrow money. I'm just going to get staked. And Ted staked me. And, the next thing you know, I was down $240,000 over a year or two. And then, boom, the 2001 series hits, and I think I had 2 firsts and a second or something, right, and was deep in the main and cashed for like $600K. And he ended up winning big. And then at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get staked anymore. occasionally at the series, I've let my friends put up 100% of the money, and I'll take a free roll,
right?
A 60% free roll. That's a hell of a deal,
right?
If someone puts up 150,000 and you're on a 60% free roll, that's what they offered me, and that's what I took because I wanted to just risk my own money. So,
and don't get jealous out there, everyone. There's only one Phil Hellmuth, okay?
The point is this, Mike. The point is this. You, in life, if you're a good money manager, it's a lot more important than being a great poker player.
It is everything.
So I want to tell you this, Mike.
Go ahead.
Imagine, put your left hand in the air and your right hand in the air. Okay. Now, you can raise your left hand up and say, I'm this great at poker, right? And you can raise your right hand up and you can say, I'm this great at money management.
Right.
But the guy who's better at money management but not as much poker talent, he has a much more comfortable, easy life.
Correct.
Because he pays his bills on time. So I've been very conservative, and people made fun of me for years.
Okay.
People said Phil is broke. Yeah. Mike, I still remember in 2002 when I walked into in 2003 and 2004 when I walked into the Commerce Casino with my own money, and I walked right by the 600, 1200 game, right by the 400, 800 game, right by the 100, 200 no-limit game, and I sat down in the 153 game or the 2-400 game, and the whole room watched me. You know, here's Phil Hellmuth, right, getting all the press, you know, plus I'm tall, and they're all watching. Where's he going to sit? Where's he going to sit? Yeah. And I put that ego away, and I did it for my wife and my kids.
Right. And you know
because
what?
I could sit down. I maybe I had 60,000 with me that trip. But instead of taking, I just sat down and thought, you know what, I'm just going to, this 153 is a good game, and this is where I need to be. And I swallowed the ego and I swallowed the pride, and I grinded it out to pay for my wife and my kids. And keep my beautiful house. Yeah. And so I've been very conservative with my money.
So I'm going to tell you a story because relating to what we're talking about right now. And it revolves around a guy I met last night, Alex Epstein. Really super nice kid. I go, what are you, 27, 28? He goes, 28. And he's told me how he crushed the World Series playing 100 200 PLO the whole summer, and then he went into a private game, and it was 2-4, and it was playing like 3 times the size, and he had a 800K bankroll and lost 7 of it, I think he said, or 6 of it, and he destroyed himself, and blah, 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 blah. One thing led to another, and I brought up you, and I brought up me, and I said, you know, Phil's been trying to get this into my head for many years, and I finally figured it out. It took me 50 years, and if I would have listened to Phil 10 years ago, I wouldn't be in the spot I'm in now. And I explained to him, you know, you're young. I go, how many times have you gone broke? He said 4. I go, okay, I've gone broke 9. I said, and I've told myself every time I wasn't going to, but said, this time I'm not going to. But I told him, listen, I don't, you know, Jared Blesnick says you're one of the best PLO players he's ever played with. I said, but it doesn't matter. If you can't take a loss and you don't have money management, I don't care how good you are, you can't win. And I explained it to him. I said, there's days you're down 20,000, 10,000, whatever you're in a game you're in, and it's just not your day. You got to get up and take a loss. I said, Phil Hellmuth taught me this. I said, granted, I go a little bit deeper than he does, but I have finally learned to take a loss or to even get in a better game. Going on what you just talked about, I could have sat in the 3-600 game last night, and I went and played the PLO game because it was smaller and it was a better game. It was gonna. I never would go from 3-600 to a quarter game. It's unheard of.
Yeah, Mike, you're starting to figure it out, and it was about 2012 that I said, all right, Phil, you're going to risk $10,000 a day.
Right.
Now, $10,000 a day, that's nothing when you play 600, 1,200, and I did play that. Right. So I would sit down with my 10K, usually in a 2-4 game. If I lost it, I'm like, all right, Phil, the one law is you have to take the loss, and you cannot appear in the poker room for at least 24 hours.
Right.
So the minute I lost some money, say it was 7 at night, I'd say, all right, you cannot play again until 3 the next day, whatever, almost 20 hours later. And I would say, that's a law.
Right.
And I would stick to it. So then what do? Well, I'm in Vegas by myself. And so, I'm a little older, so I kind of like watching movies in the room. I'd go upstairs. I'd, order room service 2, 3, 4 times over 24 hours, and get some candy.
Yeah.
Kind of take care of myself and say, Phil, losing 10K is nothing. So I learned where 10K never bothered me.
Right.
And I had lots of big ones. I could win 100. I could win 70. You were there one day, Mike.
Uh-huh.
When I was in 10K, I had about 300 or 400
you had 300
left
and won 53,000 straight in the 2-4. I'll never
Dude,
forget.
I was quitting, and I had 300 left. And you're right. I cashed in like 63,000. It was the sickest run ever. You were there for it.
Right.
I mean, I just remember. I just kept making big hands. I mean, when I had aces, somehow it'd be 5 bets 5 ways, and it would still come an ace.
But as good as you ran, I think what you did to me in Chinese in about 2 hours was a little bit worse. But
that was really brutal. You did something similar to me once, but
yeah.
let's stick with the theme, like, of the money management.
Yeah, exactly.
So because of that, let me cut back to my story of the 25,000 euro buy-in.
Okay.
So now, having risked 25 of my own money, okay, I'm like, you know what? I have to fire another bullet because I'm still in the Player of the Year race. Plus, I just finished 3rd in 8-game mix. So I hopped in. I came in fresh the next day, and man, I was really playing good, Mike. I mean, my game, really, really, and Daniel was on my right all day, and I just felt like we made the end of the day. And I think there were 11 left, probably 40 at the start of the day, probably 45 or 50 or 60 played. But it was a high roller, so it was, Ivy was in there, Negreanu was in there, Ferguson. I mean, so now I make day 2.
Mm-hmm.
We're still not in the money, but we're close. I think we weren't in the money, and then to come back and make the money. And, I just was so steady. I was so proud of myself. Benny Glazer, who I think is a great young player, is on my left all day. Negreanu's on my left. And a young Russian kid, pretty good player, he was there. And so, but they just couldn't get a chip from me, Mike. They could not get a chip from me.
They're not supposed to.
And I was just playing so steady. And the no limit, sometimes I'd go a little bit crazy. If I could get away with it. No one wanted to play no limit pot with me, so raise.
Right.
And then that would help me because it would help if I lost. But anyway, just played great. I was never at chip, never at risk. And now I know that the whole world is the whole poker world's now watching because the press is going out on every level that I'm playing for my, bracelet. And all of a sudden, they're announcing I'm in the chip lead with 3 left. And then I'm in the chip, and then 2 left. And so I had 24 million. He had 24 million. I had 20 million. He said, "Can we make a small save?" And I said, "Well, let me think about it." And he said, "I need 10 minutes to go smoke a cigarette." Okay. So I'd been playing perfect poker for 2 days, Mike, as good as I could play. And I think you would have been proud. You would have even thought I was playing a little tight in the Omaha 8 or better.
It's all good.
But I have my own theories about why that's right. And I know you're one of the tightest.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the guy, nice guy, but he doesn't play Raz. He'd never played Raz before. He'd never played stud 8 or better. He was playing high hands and stud 8 or better for 2 days straight. And so I had a real good shot at winning this.
Right.
And I was just a little bit tired, I think. It caught up with me just a little bit. But that wasn't the reason. I mean, it kind of blitzed me at first. Just won every pot. And when I settled down, I flopped 3 nines in pot limit Omaha, and it was a flip. He also had 3 nines. I had an ace kicker.
Right.
And we got it all in, and he hit his card. But, I mean, it really hurt. It was a really great opportunity for me to pick up my 16th bracelet.
Yeah.
Still, I was kind of proud.
You
Third
told me
place
it was
second place in a week.
Yeah, and you told me that all the seconds you've had, this one hurt you the most. Tell everybody why.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, there's 2 or 3 seconds that really hurt. This one hurt because I think that the guy I was playing it with was, not a very experienced player. in a lot of the games.
Right.
You know, but you know, I also lost to Brian Rast. Heads up. That one probably hurt the most. Rasty was not a great player at that point in all the games. He was a beginner at all those games.
Right.
Then, now he's great at every game.
Agree.
And that one hurt too. By then we were straight no limit.
Right.
But you know, I did cash for like 270,000 euros or 280,000 euros, so that was good. You know, you can add tenor. So it was a good trip financially for me, but I just really wanted that bracelet. And then here's the problem, Mike. Now the 100,000 is the next day 2 of the 100K, and I'm so sick of playing these 100Ks and coming in tired.
Right.
But that's exactly what I had to do because I had to get that money and play the 600,000 from my friends and play. I had 100 left.
Right.
And I figured there are times, a lot of times you and I are winning bracelets when we get really tired. We'll go day after day after day and we'll win a bracelet. And about the 20th hand into that, I get dealt kings in the big blind.
Okay.
And it goes raise under the gun, and it goes re-raise from the button, who I thought was a kind of a fast player.
Right.
And I looked at him, and I'm like, he doesn't have aces. So I made it $1 million. It went like maybe 180 to 400 to $1 million, and then the guy moves on and stands up. The guy under the gun stands up, and I thought no professional poker player is going to stand up if they have aces.
Right.
Well, it turns out he's not a pro. And then the guy on the button, I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, well, I only have $1 million left. I have $1 million, and I'm not folding. And I know him, and he studies for like 3 minutes, you know. And I'm like, he calls, and I'm like, well, I have him beat, so I called, and the button had ace king, and the under the gun guy had aces, and I had kings, 6-handed, 20 hands in, and you know that one hurt, you know, because I want to show people. You know, I mean, if nobody has anything negative, if anybody says anything negative about me, it's like, well, Phil hasn't done great in high rollers. Well, you know, I'm the only guy.
What's his name? Bought in 7 times.
I'm the only guy, Mike. Mike, I'm the only guy that has 3 top 10 finishes in the one drop, and I played less than everybody else. And I still have 3 top 10s, maybe in 4 or 5.
What's the German guy, really nice guy? He bought in 7 times. 700K. I'm like, who's his backer? How's he going to stand money? I mean, like, we got to get rid of these re-entries and these. It's just such a farce on poker. He's a great player too.
The problem is this, Mike. They are taking the all-time money list away from me.
Exactly.
Okay, so you were there. You were there, man. You were there. You saw me win $10 million in $1,500 and $5,000 bucks.
You never had $1 million score till 4 years ago. And that was
I never had $1 million score.
You've only had one, right?
Crazy.
You've had one, right? In the one drop, the million. That was it, right? Or have you had 2 now?
Yep.
Maybe 2 now.
No, I think just one.
I think one, right? And these people, and this is what I've been trying to say. But you know, Brian Rast made a good point. You know, because I was like feeling the same way you felt. I'm like, man, I got $10 million in earnings, and all I do is play the World Series. I don't play anything else, and I was like 11th on the all-time money list like 7 years ago, and now I'm like 88th, right? And so it kind of bothered me, and I know it bothers you too, but Brian Rast, he really made a good point. He's like, well, if you start keeping track of, like, let's just say all-time money list, like every time you buy in, you subtract from the all-time money list when you lose and don't cash. If you start doing that, he said, it all these people who think they're winning players get to realizing they're losing players and they quit playing. So
true, Mike.
And he made a good point to me because I was on the side of you. I'm like, this is just making a sham of poker, but it really isn't. He made a great point to me. And I said, damn, Brian makes a lot of sense. And you know what I love the most about Brian is he listens to people. Even if he has a different point of view, he'll listen to you, and then he'll come. I really love Brian Rast a lot. He's a great guy. He listens, and he makes so many great points. He really does. So I changed
He's a smart guy. I agree for sure. Yeah. But still, Mike, it's frustrating because you and I both know that a lot of these guys have 5-10% of themselves. They travel all over the world,
right?
And they play all these high rollers against each other. At the end of time, let's say that 20 of those guys are all even. Mm-hmm. Let's say that maybe 4 guys are way ahead, and 4 are way behind, and 20 guys. Well, they all moved ahead of us on the all-time money list for breaking even.
Correct.
Because they're playing at 100. So it's a little bit frustrating for someone like me who's worked. But I'll tell you something else too, Mike. There's a thing called ROI, return on investment. And I went public with return on investment, and people said, some smart people said some really stupid stuff. I was disappointed. I don't want to mention any names.
Right.
And I said, I have the best ROI in history. Well, USA Today did an article saying I had the best ROI in history.
You and Carlos
I was a little
Mortensen.
dot.
You and Carlos Mortensen.
I was a little dot.
Yeah.
Yes, I was a little dot way out there where it made no sense to be.
Right.
And so that, return on investment is very simple. How much did you invest and how much did you make?
Right.
And so, it just so happens all those 1,500s and 1Ks and 5,000s I won 10 million in or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it just put me way out there on an ROI because I spent so much less than everybody else. And so return on investment is something which we can't track anymore. It's hard to track. So it's okay. Some stuff's going to get away. The all-time money list is one of those things. Yeah. I would like to be able to compete. What I really care about is the bracelets and the final tables.
Well, the thing is, Phil, is you're smart.
Although the cash is out of control too now. You've got Chris Ferguson, who I really like. You've got Negreanu, who I really like, and Sean Deeb, and they're all playing within the rules, Mike.
Yeah.
But you know what Daniel did? And he was laughing. He's with me in the $25,000 buy-in, 8-game mix. But meanwhile, he has to enter the other tournament to try to get points.
Right.
So he enters the pot limit Omaha on the break.
Yeah, I heard about this. And
he gambles. He doubles,
right.
Mike. So say he started with 30K, now he has 150K call it. Just got it in bad, whatever, just randomly, because he can rebuy multiple times.
Right.
Then he plays in our tournament for 6 hours. Then he goes back and he doubles again to now he has maybe 200,000. And he's like, all right, I don't think I'm going to play again. And so now we're tracking it. Now he's in the money. And he's celebrating because he's in the money. I'm like, of course you're going to make the money. He still has 120,000 in chips because pot limit Omaha, the blinds don't cost anything. Meanwhile, Sean Deeb, who was playing in the pot limit Omaha all day, and Robert Campbell, who's been playing all day, they're both out. They took their bullets. So now, Mike, now it gets better. Now the next day, Daniel goes back and plays one hand and doubles again, and then he never goes back again. He's in our tournament. But he has the floor people checking on a stack because there's 30 left. Daniel finishes in 20th place in this tournament. Okay.
And he played how many hands?
He played a total of 22 minutes. Okay. Now, Daniel this is not an insult to Daniel. Daniel's playing by the rules.
Right.
And it was very smart of him to do what he did.
Yeah.
But the point is, people are making a joke of the points race.
It's not that.
And Daniel will be the first one. I'm not.
Yeah.
And I hear Chris Ferguson buys in every single tournament and lates reg to the max every time and tries to be the last one to sit down for everyone.
Right.
And so, he cashed, 24 times? So the cashing thing's become a bit of a joke.
So
I think they need a solution for Player of the Year, Mike. And Daniel suggested this. Take your top 10 cashes. Mm-hmm. Your 10 best. Because if some guy wins 3 bracelets and then somebody else cashes 23 times and makes 3 final tables and never finishes 5th, and they win Player of the Year, it's bullshit.
That can't be. I agree. It can't. You're right. Listen, it's within the rules, but they need to. But they need to do a lot. First of all, the first thing they need to do is get rid of re-entries. One tops. It's just destroying the game. But it's something I'm going to work on every podcast I bring it up.
One re-entry's fine. Multiples may be bad. One's fine.
One's fine. I have no problem with
flying all the way across the world.
I agree.
A tournament.
I'm fine with it.
Then they go out once, so they get all in with aces and take a bad beat. Now they have to go home.
Yeah. So how? You probably don't think it's ever going to happen, but I believe it's gonna. How long is it going to be before they put the re-entries into the main event? because they're greedy as fuck. They just want money. I say 5 years tops. I mean, they're already letting people buy in on day 2 of the main event. I mean, you want to talk about I mean, that's just horrible for people.
Mike, wouldn't you like it if the main event had one rebuy? Tell the truth.
No.
From your perspective.
Absolutely not. And you know what? So wait, let me finish. So you show up on time on day 1 in the main event. And I think everyone needs to be on time for the main event.
Hold on, Mike. It comes 10-9-8. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you have the Jack Queen of Diamonds. And, you know, you're against an amateur, and the amateur has 10s and 8s. And he doesn't know how to fold 10s and 8s. For you and I, it's like, we wouldn't lose 1,000 on that hand. But you know, an amateur, whatever, he goes with it. It's all in on the flop, and the turn's an 8. And you're out. And so, you know, there is that random luck element in the main event with so many really, really crazy bad players.
But that's just not your year. I mean, it's tough to win. The main event is the main. That's one thing that people knock you, and they knock. I'm not going to go into strategy like when you called this raise with King 7 of diamonds, and it came 4, 5, 6 with 2 diamonds, and you bet, and the guy moved all in, and they're like, how does Phil not call? I'm like, well, because if Phil calls and misses, he's out of the main event, and Phil knows he could find a better spot to win just that many chips without risking any. But
in a cash game, the money's in a second. In a regular tournament, the money's in a second.
And see,
in a second.
I'm not going to talk strategy because we don't talk strategy about No Limit because we have our own thought process. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And people could have their way of thinking with math and equity and all that shit. But let's go back to this. Who's winning? Okay, Phil Ivey, had a great WSOP Europe. You had a great World Series. Daniel won Player of the Year. I had a great World Series. Sean Deeb Ferguson had a great World Series. So all these problem solvers, or whatever they call them, that run 18 million sims of why it's correct to mathematically call, blah, blah, blah. How they doing? That's what I want to know. We keep winning. Daniel just won his 3rd Player of the Year. What's going on? I mean,
by the way, Mike, I have 3 seconds in Player of the Year.
Yeah,
not to mention all those years I would have won Player of the Year if we even had one.
How about the only way you could not win Player of the Year was for Ben Lamb to make the final table of the main event. Remember that?
Mike, it get worse than that. Come on, Ben Lamb had to finish 8th or better in the main event. He did it to take the Player of the Year away from me. Right. The other one, the more brutal one, is Merson had to win. You know, if Merson finished 2nd that year, it was Player of the Year.
Oh, he had to win.
The
That's
main
right.
event
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you know, the difference is that he won. Now Sean Deeb had to finish. Sean Deeb came back with 11 players left in the last event, the closer, which is really exciting for poker. He had to finish in 5th place.
I heard he completely grenaded his stack. That's what Daniel told me.
Maybe not, but I don't know about the all I know is this. He came back with 11, and he finished 11th. But, you know, if he happened to finish 5th, then Daniel only has 2 Players of the Year.
Yeah.
If Merson had to finish 1st to take it away from me. So these things happen.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the game.
I heard
but it's a little frustrating
he was
for me.
3rd in chips, Sean, and Daniel said he completely incinerated his stack. Now, I don't know what that means. I haven't talked to Sean. I'm sure Sean will have.
Yeah,
Sean
but Sean plays a different style. Sean, as much as he's adapted to the styles that I play,
right?
He has his own version of No Limit,
right?
And so, you know, Sean will. If Sean raises with 8-9 of diamonds and someone puts a big re-raise in, he'll call it. And if it comes 9-4 deuce, it's going in. And if the other guy has queens, then you and Daniel and I would say he incinerated his stack,
right?
Because why would you play 9-8 when all you have to do is fold to 10-handed, not play a hand 10-handed or 9-handed, because it's so easy to fold and easily work your way up to 5th place.
Easily.
And you and I Daniel and I are experts at kind of moving up to 5th place.
Right.
So, but I'm not going to say that Sean incinerated his stack. Maybe he had aces.
Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe he You know, who knows? I mean, maybe he got in with king 7 and the other guy had ace 4. I don't know what happened, but I guess if Daniel says he incinerated, maybe he did.
You know, everybody has a different style. Like Daniel was saying, well, he just plays really sloppy, but he's always played sloppy. That's his style. That's how he gets a lot of chips, and that's why he wins a lot and loses a lot. I mean,
Sean Dave raises more hands than anybody in poker.
Anybody in poker, I agree. And you know what?
Anybody, and he had massive chip leads in pot limit Omaha. He had massive chip leads in every game.
How about
really impressive?
Yeah. So you know, there's one thing we know: there's different styles in poker that work. And when people want to say negative things about you, negative things about me, negative things about people, we have a different way of thinking, and all philosophies work. But the only philosophy I don't believe in is you're never going to be a super top player just playing GTO. If you don't have talent, you could do all the ICM GTO you want. It's just not going to. It'll make you a winning player, but it isn't going to make you when it just won't. It just can't. I just know it. Like, I see things in my gut. I feel it. I mean, even when I was playing the big game a couple weeks ago, it's like guy raised, and I looked at him. He raised under the gun. I had ace 10 of spades, and I looked at him, and I knew he was super strong. I go, can Alan Keating play my discards? And he goes, oh yeah. And when he said that, I'm like, oh, my God, he's just screaming he's got aces or kings. You know what I'm saying? So I throw my hand to Alan Keating. Of course, he calls the raise. And it comes king high with 2 spades. And Alan loses. They run it twice, and Alan loses 40,000. The guy had 3 kings, and that was it. I just started like laughing. I'm like, the difference is, and Alan Keating's very talented, but the things that I'm able to see, you're able to see, a lot of great readers are able to see, overcomes a lot of maybe things that we might not do totally mathematically correct. But that's the way I think. That's the way you think, and our way works. And
you know, Mike, I got to tell the story. I was in Keating's game. That's a series, okay? So here's my situation. I'm down to like $1,000 left in town. I was going to hit the button to wire in 200,000 or something, you know what I mean? I was going to have my wife wire in money. And I had a day open, and I said, you know, I think I'm not planning on playing today. I think I'll play in your game, Alan. Right. So I go to his game. We're playing 2-400. And the game's out of control fun. I mean, Alan has the best games, I think. And so at one hand, Mike, I limped for 400. Okay. The guy behind me made it 5,000 with ace-5 offsuit. Alan made it 15,000 from the big blind, and I just shipped 70,000 in, cold. And Alan just beat me in the pot with 10s. Run it twice? Sure. The first, somehow he hits a 10 on the first one. And it's a straight draw on the second. I almost lost both. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? So fast forward to 3-4 hours later, I have 156,000 in front of me. I'm in 120. All right, despite the beats I'd taken. And so they deal me 2 kings. And so the guy under the gun opens for a big raise, like 4K. And then the second and third players both call 4K. He just 10x'd it, and they both called. So I'm like, all right, fine. I made it 17,000 to send a message with kings. I'm forced to act. And it gets back to him, and he looks back at his cards, and he makes it 44,000. And I'm like, oh, my God, they know how tight I am. He knows I have aces or kings or a big, big, big hand, or if that's just the odd time I'm making a play. But it's not. And so they both fold, and my instincts are going crazy, Mike. And I can't help but think to myself, this is the first time in Vegas in a couple of years where I've had 156,000 in front of me in a no-limit game. And they dealt me kings, and they dealt this guy aces, and I know it. And so I'm just studying, and I just had this vision in my mind. I mean, I was really on the series. I said, I'm going to move in, and he is going to double-check his cards as he's throwing the money in the pot. You know? He's going to look back, say, I have aces, and put in the 156,000. He was a fast player, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I showed Alan the kings, and I showed the other guy the kings, and they thought I was messing with them. Then I folded.
Mm-hmm.
And Alan said, "Show me that hand. You have ace 5." The guy wouldn't show. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then I left. I left for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and I went upstairs and said, "Honey, I'm sure this guy had aces. I just made."
Of course.
And when I came back, he was going crazy. And when I quit the game up 16,000, I borrowed 120 from Alan, paid him back right away. So now I'm up 16K. I said, well, this might last for a few weeks, the series. I don't have to hit the send button yet. You know what I mean?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And he said, I had aces, I swear. He's like, how did you know? And I said, well, I don't know how I knew, except that I just knew.
Yeah.
And he said, what was it the way I looked? Was it the way and I'm like,
something we're born with, buddy. Something we're born with.
You can't explain this stuff, Mike.
No, you can't.
One hand earlier, I had with tens, and it went all in behind me for 60,000 each, 2 guys. And I called with tens. And I was against 7-6 and 2 4s. And my instincts were going crazy to call. I put the money in $70,000, Mike.
Of course.
And I was right. And I lost one of the boards because the guy with the 7-6 hit 3 sevens on the second board.
Okay.
And so then they're like, we don't get it. How do you put in all that money with tens and then you just fold kings? And I was just like, it was just like I could see the future, you know. And it's not that advanced to seeing the future. It was I just knew that if I put the money in, you were just going to snap those aces over.
You feel it.
And take my 156.
And you know what the thing is? My whole life, I've felt things, and a lot of times, even when I got set up with the cop and shit, I felt my first gut was like, this guy feels like a cop, you know? And I didn't follow my instincts, so I'm like, why is a guy for a year and a half following me? He knows I don't do anything. You know what I mean? But and now things are going well. I'm out of pain, and I'm following every instinct. And even last night in the game, right? I'm sitting there, and this guy Alex goes, "Are you going to play?" I'm like, "I'm debating." He goes, "You're reaching deep inside your gut, and you're trying to get a feel of positivity or negativity. Am I right?" I said, exactly. How'd you know that? He goes, I could tell. I'm like, yeah, because my whole life, I reach down and whatever my gut tells me, it's right 95% of the time. And I was getting mixed feelings like, should I play? Shouldn't I play? Should I play? Shouldn't I play? And
well, yeah, here's the weird thing, people, Mike. When people hear us talk, they're like, oh, Phil and Mike, they don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes they think that. Most guys know that we know our stuff. But some guys are like, wait, where's the science? The science... Your gut feeling your gut feeling's about a lot of things. 1, am I tired? 2, is the game good? 3, do I feel like I can hold my concentration? That adds up. And to you, that comes across as a gut instinct, you know?
Right.
And so that's what you're going with. For me, with the kings,
right.
You know, I folded kings 4 times in my life, maybe 5, and every time they showed the aces.
Really?
This guy didn't show them. But he wouldn't let Alan look at it.
6 times I'm 3-3, by the way. So, I mean, whatever.
Well, I'm not 3-3. As far as I know, I'm 5 out of 5 on this.
Yeah.
So, but it's not just I did a bad job of explaining it, but it's just like sometimes there's this instinct that Doyle talks about in his book.
Right.
With the greatest poker players in the world, they know when the other person has the best possible hand.
They just know when they're beat.
Because there's just a certain confidence.
Yeah.
No. I mean, Mike, I'm talking specifically when someone has the best possible hand.
Right.
When they have the nuts, there's just no fear at all.
Right.
And that's an easier thing to read. So for a professional poker player like me, you know, it's a lot easier to fold the kings because I just don't see that tell very often, you know, and it's such a supreme tell, you know.
Right. So tell everybody what our plans are for the weekend.
Well, we're staying at a really nice hotel here in Boca Raton, and I've been here 9 days on vacation. You know, just trying to rest as much as possible. And then what's happening is this, Mike. We're going to be eating at the Chop Lobster House tomorrow at Thursday. And then we're going to the Isle Pompano Casino. It's kind of just me and a bunch of my friends. Mike Sexton might join us. John Ferraro, John Green, a bunch of guys, that Morgan Machina, a bunch of guys who you've known kind of in the past. Timmy, there's this whole group of guys.
The last time I was at the Isle was 2010. I won the Florida State Poker Championship. I haven't been back since. So this will be it'll be a fun weekend. And
wow,
then
you have great vibes.
Yeah. And so
Mike, let me finish. So then Friday night, there's a $50,000 buy-in game. We're giving $5,000. Each player that's playing gives $5,000 to the charity.
Right.
To the Howard Frank charity event.
Yep.
I think you're playing, and I think I'm taking half of you in that.
Yeah.
I may play myself. I haven't decided yet. The blinds are only 25, 50, and then 1,500, so we're deep.
And we're only playing for what?
You
said a couple hours we're only playing for? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's all good.
And so, and then there's the $2,000 buy-in Beat the Brett tournament Saturday at 3 p.m., where a bunch of people qualified on satellites for that. Now, I've played in that 3-4 times. I haven't cashed yet. I've been close, so it's going to be interesting to see. I'm kind of in form right now, so I want to see, will that form translate to me going deep in that?
I think so.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Depends if Friday night you go out with the boys and have some Dom Perignon or not.
We have some Dom Perignon in the room here.
Yeah.
And there's a tournament Friday night. It's like a celebrity knockout, and so that we'll probably a lot of us will be over there having some drinks and just chilling, because Friday's kind of an easy night.
Right.
But remember, also Friday's the 50K buy-in cash game earlier in the night. So, yeah. And then the big tournament is the Howard Frank charity tournament, right, which they're going to have 300-400 people in, Mike.
Yeah.
That's on Sunday.
Yeah, I did the first one for them back in 2012, and you've been doing, I think, the last 5 years, right? 4 or 5 years?
I have.
Yeah.
It's been fun, and it's been really fun. Cantu's been down here with me the last few years. He's going to miss. I'm glad you're going to be here. And it's just, for me, it's fun to get Jason Otto. It's fun to get to, last year we had Robert Williamson. It's fun just to have a group of people. We kind of have a weekend. We're invited on 3 different yachts, Mike.
Yeah, no, I heard. Saturday on the beach, we're supposed to go on a boat or something. I don't know. It'll be fun. But
Lyle Berman's going to be here. Lyle wants to play 2 400 mix game.
Yeah, and we have, so does Steve Levin and so does Corey Zeidman. They've been texting me about getting a mixed game together. I said, well, we're on a schedule. I don't know. We'll have time. If we do, it'll probably be Sunday night if we get knocked out of the charity tournament. That's what I told them.
Well, I would tell those guys that Lyle Berman wants to play. And then you've got Corey Zeidman, you, Lyle Berman, me. And maybe that's something we play Saturday at 4 p.m. or something, 5 p.m. I mean, Sunday at 4 or 5 p.m.
So this is going to be my first trip since my injury out on an airplane going across country. And I'm always in pain when I fly because the pressure with my injury really hurts. So actually, it's my second trip. I went to Washington with you 2 years ago, and I could barely leave the room that time. So hopefully...
It's true. You flew to L.A. with me a few months ago.
Yeah, but that's nothing. But I'm talking about going across country.
An hour.
So, yeah. So let's just pray that my health holds up. And if it does, it's going to be a great weekend for us. So everybody out there, I tweeted out the flyer that you sent me about what we're doing this weekend. So... if you want, you can throw a retweet and everybody can show up and play poker with us. So I can't wait. I'm flying out in the morning. We're going to have a great weekend. We're going to make lots of money, make money for charity. And I get to see you, and it's been a while, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for checking in with all your fans. And
see you in Southern FLA tomorrow, Mikey.
You got it, buddy. Thanks a lot, buddy. Have a great night. Peace.
The Mouthpiece.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this edition, episode 25 of The Mouthpiece. Tune in next week, episode 26. Wow, 26 already. And I'll be talking about my trip to Florida, my private games that I'll be playing, and well, we'll be catching up on everything. Have a great night. Thanks for checking in. Peace.
The Mouthpiece.